Okay, so let's get into the meat of overcoming performance anxiety. And this particular section is called Not Shooting Yourself in the Foot. And dealing with performance anxiety is really about helping yourself out as much as you can. And there are three main aspects when it comes to overcoming performance anxiety, and they are physical, mental, and emotional. In this component, not shooting yourself in the foot, I'll address the physical and mental aspects. And in the next component, dealing with negative self-talk, I'll cover the emotional aspects. Now let's look at how people don't help themselves when they step in front of the camera, specifically with the physical aspects. There are some simple things that you can do to ensure that you have success on the camera. And I'm not saying you don't know these. I'm not saying that these aren't on your radar, but it's certainly worth shining a light on them and saying, pay attention to these. This will make it easier. And the first one is going to be about being well rested and clear-headed. I think the well rested probably speaks for itself, but let's talk about what I mean about being clear-headed. I can't do antihistamines. They make me feel stoned. They make me feel drowsy. I'm having a hard time focusing, and I don't even know if I should even be driving when I'm on antihistamines because they don't help me, and they affect me like well into the next day. And if you have anything in your system that is stopping you or hindering you from focusing, such as alcohol or recreational drugs or antihistamines, then you're not helping yourself. And you have to be really mindful of what you're taking and how it's going to affect your ability to be on camera and present a good, clear message. Something else you have to be mindful of is not having too much coffee in your system. Now, I'm going to talk about how that affects your speech in a bit, but if you are compensating for being tired by having coffee and a lot of coffee, a lot of caffeine, and you're jittery and you're kind of anxious and you're nervous because of the caffeine in that, well, you're not helping yourself. And that's why being well rested is important, but also not having too much caffeine. Something else that's very important, that's very doable to do, is being satiated. And what I mean by that is two things. And the first one is having a full gas tank, not being hungry. You don't need to have your stomach gurgling when you're shooting videos because a mic like this will definitely pick it up. Furthermore, you don't want to have any food in you that's going to cause you to have like heartburn, or that you're going to have, a lot of gas, you're burping or you're belching that you're having to suppress when you're in the middle of videos. So you really need to be very smart on what you eat before you go and make sure that you're not hungry, because that will affect your system. The other thing that's very important when it comes to hydration is about being, or when it comes to being satiated, is about hydration. And this is very important to your vocal cords. 3 years ago, when I attended the world's greatest speaker training, where the world's greatest vocal coach, Roger Love, spoke, he talked about the importance of having the right amount of phlegm in your vocal cords. That's where I learned that your vocal cords are the last organ to be hydrated when you are actually drinking water. All your other organs, your more essential organs, are hydrated way before that. So you have to have a lot of water. And you have to be well hydrated. And one of the things that stops your vocal cords from being well hydrated are going to be things like caffeine, because caffeine is a diuretic. It dehydrates you. Alcohol dehydrates you. And also, if you have, let's say, an intolerance to milk, well, then you're going to have too much phlegm. And having your vocal cords really taken care of and making sure that they're hydrated well is really important, because the last thing you want to do is, in your post-production, try and remove those or that kind of stuff. You know how annoying that is that I just did? Well, that's why you need to have really good hydration, and also not shoot yourself in the foot by having too much caffeine, which will take away from your vocal cords, and it's a downward spiral. These are simple things that you can do to ensure that you have success in front of the camera. And now that we've talked about them, I'm going to now talk about some mental aspects that I want you to consider. And the first one is having a well-crafted message. If you're not clear what you're saying and you're kind of confused and you're not really sure, you're not on target, well, you're not going to have the time it's going to take far longer than you want. It's not going to come clear, and it's not going to be succinct. So the first thing you have to nail is making sure that you have a good, succinct message and that you're not worried about what your message is, because that's part of the mental aspect that detracts from your message. Also, you have to know how your gear works, your camera, your sound, your lighting. You don't want to be worried about whether or not your camera's recording or whether your sound is at the right level. You also don't want to worry about your lighting. Where lighting is an issue for me is that I wear glasses, and some of my ERS videos where I was writing notes, where I had a whiteboard on the other side of the camera over here, where I'd be using that as to get to my next point. Well, my glasses were constantly having a reflection upon them, and it got in the way, and people were giving me feedback saying that's not helping you. So I had to ditch them, and I got contacts. So these are things you also have to consider, and you don't want to be worrying about them, whether or not they're going to be a problem when you are shooting your videos. You need to have them nailed down and not give them any mental thought whatsoever. So these things, if you don't have them nailed down, add to you being frustrated or anxious. And when you're anxious, it adds to the feeling of being overwhelmed and disempowered, and this is not good. Now, something else that is very important under the mental aspect of shooting videos, and that is being rushed or think that your videos are taking too long. I'll admit it, after 300 videos, this is still something I struggle with. And I just want to get the video done, and I want to move over. This video, which is, I'm assuming it's going to be around 10 minutes long when it's done, took me a better part of a day. I'd say about 5 hours of getting ready to have this video, which is probably going to be around 10 minutes. And if you are thinking that it should get done and you're taking too long, that's not helping you. You just have to accept that it takes as long as it takes, and that's the way it is. So I actually took 30 hours to shoot one 5-minute video once. And let me tell you, that was really like on the third day, I'm going, oh my God, is this worth it? Am I going to get it done? And it took me a while to actually be happy with it. And that's what I mean, is you just have to make peace with where you're at and how long your videos are. And how I actually compensate for that is, one of my regular practices is to meditate before I attempt to shoot a final video. I just meditated before I shot this one, and it grounds me and calms me down. And if you don't meditate, I highly recommend it. I'm not talking half an hour, I'm talking 5 minutes. I'm talking about just slowing your breath down and getting still and just calming your mind, and it will help with how you come across on videos. Another mental aspect which gets in the way of shooting content is our tendency to compare ourselves with others, especially if you think that whatever videos you're watching is easy or effortless. Well, that just gets in your way. That's creeping in your head, and that's going, this is taking too long, and they do it so easily, and how come I can't do that? And that's just noise that you don't need. It just gets in the way. It's like running rubber through electricity, these things. It's just like, it's not helping you. And the other idea I want to discuss with you is that if you think your videos are going to go viral and make a lot of money, I'm not saying they're not going to, and I wish you all the best success if they do, but if you think that's going to happen, then that's the wrong mental attitude to have going into shooting videos, because what you're doing is you're actually thinking about success, fame, and fortune, and you're not focusing on good content. And people that do have those, like, I'm not talking the one-offs that they shoot a video of kittens and everyone loves it and it goes viral on the internet. I'm talking about the people that have consistently well-paying videos and maybe have some viral content on that really gets big out there. Well, there is a lot of work to get to that point. They just, by and large, they just didn't show up one day and just put the camera in front of them and go, oh, I'm going to shoot and it's going to go crazy. So if you have that in your mind, I hope it happens for you, but it will get in the way of you actually shooting good content. So the point is, comparing yourself to others is not only futile, but it hinders you being in the here and now. Now, the last point I want to make, and I think this is very important, is that I want you to be very careful, especially when you start shooting videos, as to who you tell that you're shooting videos to. And unless they are 100% behind you, your biggest cheerleaders, rah, 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 go, 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 unless they're doing that for you, don't tell them, because you don't need their doubts or fears creeping into your mind. It's their doubts and fears. It's not your doubts and fears. People are misguided about when they want to let us know when we think we're going off the track, or we're not doing something right, or that we're not helping ourselves, and they'll point out all the things that are going to go wrong. And if anyone is going to do that in your life, do not tell them. They're not helping you, because you don't need, when you're in the middle of a video and you're frustrated because it's taking too long and it's not coming across as much as you want, to have this net in your mind. It's again like running rubber through electricity. It doesn't help you. So the quicker you take care of these manageable things, the physical and emotional, or physical and mental, then the dealing with the hardest stuff will come much easier. And speaking of dealing with the hardest stuff, now I'm going to cover how to deal with negative self-talk.